Chapter 11, At the Barricade. Okay. In that year of 1832, there was unrest in every quarter of Paris. People were speaking against the government. Students were planning a revolution. It was rumored that the popular leader, General Lamarck, was near death. He was the only man in the government who cared about the poor. When he died, Paris would explode. Okay, so that's true. You know how I told you this is like a fiction story, but it's based off of real events? So the uprising in Paris in 1832, when Lamarck died, that I just read, that's true. Okay. Cosette and I would spend one last week in our apartment in Paris. Then we would board a ship and sail for England. Cosette said she didn't want to leave France. Still, she helped me pack our few belongings. Then General Lamarck died. On June 5th, 1832, his funeral procession made its way through the streets of Paris. The spark was struck. The powder keg was set to blow. On the evening of that same day, I wandered back to the house on Rue Plumet. I wanted to take a last walk in our garden. A street boy called to me. He had a note for Cosette. It was from her lover. I opened it and read it. My grandfather will not agree to our marriage. We have no money, so we cannot be together. I have gone to the barricades to die for the revolution. When you read this, my soul will be very near and smiling at you. Remember me. I love you. Marius Pontmercy. So, my enemy would soon be dead. He's being a little dramatic. A boy who likes his daughter, that's not really an enemy, but that's okay. So my enemy would soon be dead. I didn't have to do a thing, and he would be gone from my life. I put the letter in my pocket. I didn't want Cosette to know where Marius was. But my heart was heavy. Now I knew how much they loved each other. Though they couldn't marry, their hearts would always be one. From the date on the letter, I saw that Marius intended Cosette to read it the next morning. Perhaps there was still time. I changed into my old National Guard uniform. I left the house fully armed and headed for Marius's barricade. How could I know that I would meet two enemies there? One enemy wanted my daughter, yet the other wanted my freedom. Yes, Javert was at the barricade. Our paths would cross once more. The barricade was enormous, 3 stories high and 700 feet long. Built in front of an inn, it blocked the entrance to 3 streets. Anything and everything went into building the barricade. Doors, screens, broken windows, bedroom furniture, stoves, chairs, pots and pans, whatever was at hand. Behind the barricade, young men stood with guns, waited for the king's soldiers to come down the street. I got there at dawn, just as the men with families were being sent home. There must be no unnecessary deaths, Marius was saying. Those men with wives and children must leave at once. In another 15 minutes it will be too late, said Enjolras, their leader. The soldiers will be here. I offered to stay and fight. Citizen, you are most welcome, said Enjolras, but we are about to die. I said nothing. I had faced death many times in my life. Suddenly there was the sound of trumpets. The barricade was under attack. On guard! Cried Marius from the top of the barricade. Another man on the barricade shouted, Where there are no more kings, there will be no more war. Heads down and get back to the wall, shouted Enjolras. All of you, down on your knees. The soldiers were firing at the barricade. The whole barricade was being hit with bullets. We were cloaked in a cloud of smoke. I was certain Marius would be the first one shot. He was standing in the line of fire. He didn't seem interested in protecting himself. A soldier was posted on the roof nearby. He could see straight into our stronghold. I took aim with my musket and fired. I struck the soldier's helmet. It clattered into the street, and the soldier ran off. Why did you fire at the helmet and not the man? Asked Enjolras. I said nothing. Killing wasn't as easy for me as it seemed to be for these young men. A spy was tied up at the inn. Enjolras told me to go and check on him. I entered the inn, and the spy turned to me. I knew the man. So here we are, he said. It was Javert. He asked for a drink. I held a glass to his lips. Then Enjolras came in and put a gun on the table. I haven't forgotten you, he said to Javert. He turned to me. The last man to leave this place will blow out this spy's brains. That escalated. May I be that man? I asked. All right, replied Andros. You can have the spy. I picked up the gun. Javert's eyes were upon me. I released him from the post, and we left the inn. His hands were tied behind his back, so I helped him over the barricade. We walked down the alley. Take your revenge, said Javert when we stopped walking. I took a knife out of my pocket. A knife to the heart, exclaimed Javert. You're right. That is your style. I cut the ropes on Javert's wrists. You're free to go, I told him. Javert was too stunned to speak. He stared at me open-mouthed. I probably won't leave here alive, I said, but if I do, you can find me at the number 7 at Rue de la Homme Armée. I live there under the name of Frachelevant. Now go. After a few steps, Javert turned. I would rather you have killed me, he said. Clear out, I cried. When he was gone, I fired a gun into the air. I went back to the barricade and reported, the spy is dead. But Marius wasn't at his post. He was lying on the pavement. A bullet was in his shoulder. He looked dead, but he was still breathing. The king's soldiers would soon be at the barricade. I had to get Marius to safety. Okay, so I'm going to ask a question. Jean Valjean had the opportunity to kill Javert, but he didn't. Think about that.